Hello, Jeremy. How are you doing today?
Oh, Juno, I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm mid-tour. You said this will go out
Hair
in a
flip.
future time. I know. But also it's good for me to be engaged in this kind of activity while I'm on tour because it really represents how I'm constellating multiple things with various levels of juggling elegance or finesse,
Intentionality.
but intentionality too, because it is because we can get to this, but like part of like my spiritual practice is kind of is what happens to me when I'm touring, or what
Yeah.
happens to us when we're not in necessarily a roost nest of
I just
sorts.
realized something that maybe some people don't know who you are. So I'm going to say, first, welcome to Conscious Conversations. And second, Jeremy, please introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Jeremy, handsome Jeremy if you're nasty. Um uh, and and what I will connect to what Juno said by saying I'm on tour because I'm Alaska's general music director, and you anyone in the queer and queer adjacent communities who knows her one woman shows over the past 12ish years, drag show 5,000, various music videos, that's part of the adventure of the constellation of things I do to support myself. But as we'll get into, I've also had some amazing opportunities to serve as a community spiritual counselor and collaborator of sorts.
And that's where Jeremy and my relationship particularly thrive in the
Yes.
spiritual, like woo-woo spaces.
Yes.
Um, So the first question that I wanted to ask you, which is the question I ask everybody, is like, what was your childhood like spiritually? What belief system did you like grow up with, and how
Yeah.
did that evolve over time?
Yes. Well, I grew up uh, I came out of the womb of a woman, my lovely mother, my magical, mystical mother, um, who had recently converted from Catholicism to evangelical Christianity with her mother, who's my Italian American grandmother. So all of that X chromosome energy was all happening while I was in utero. So, with my mom's side of the family, we grew up evangelical in the 80s with Jimmy Swaggart, Bakers, Tammy Faye, all the praise and worship music that was on constantly in my life. And my dad's family were Slavic, so they were culturally Catholic. But I wasn't really involved with any Catholicism because ex Catholic evangelicals tend to keep a smart and intentional distance away from Catholicism. So the culture and the ancestry of Catholicism was there in basically all but my mom's dad's side. But I grew up with the imminent sense of like we are really focused on God and doing godly things, and secular music at the world outside of our particular brand of Christianity was tainted and wanted to imbue us with darkness. So I lived basically the 80s being well behaved in those communities.
Well, also the 80s
Um,
was very like satanic panic times, right?
and into the 90s.
Yeah.
That's a tangent on how evangelical uh risings in the 70s in the queer community paralleled with like the HIV AIDS
Mhm.
epidemic, and who's throwing blame at who and who's playing a victim to whom. And the 80s were really when forces in both like Christianity and queerness started realizing that we had left the bubble of counterculture from the 60s and 70s. I think that's an important premise because I'm in the pocket of Zennials, like late 70s, early 80s creatures who
Hmm.
are in our early
Same.
40s. So
Yeah.
we like and you know, for anyone listening, I think our micro generation has a unique and helpful gift to offer the world right now because we do not buy into, we're young enough and old enough to really be on that precipice of not buying into things that people think are ubiquitous.
Well,
And
you know, it's
so,
funny. I just said this to my mother. My
yes,
sister, who is 22, she calls our generation the young old people, which I live for. I kind of love that.
yeah,
Like, I'll
we
take it.
are. My
Uh,
gosh, and even on like a rainy day when the thoughtful social media may grab any of us, I'm like, what? This guy on OnlyFans is in his 40s? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you eat your greens and you drink your water and you do what feeds your vitality. And some of us in our 40s are doing rather well.
I'm also very
Blessed be.
intrigued by some of the, and this is not me pooping like poo-pooing on like the younger generation, but
Yeah.
some people in their 20s today look older than me. Like just full stop. And I'm very intrigued
Bless
and
you
confused by
all,
it.
like to have gone through the whole breaking down of systems in this decade. The breaking down of systems really happening, like, again, like if you have friends, to the younger folks out there, if you have friends or if you don't have enough friends in their early 40s, please, I know in this conversation we're here to help because like we had to deal with 9/11, but 9/11 still felt so like a very specific thing that rippled out, but a pandemic hasn't happened in 100 years. They had
Yeah,
World War I in 1918, and then the influenza epidemic in 1919, and the 1920s was a version. 100 years ago is when we're like, oh, we're either flappers and countercultural 100 years ago, or we're like really buckling up and home sweet home and Dolores and Gladys and
I like to think
Tabitha.
that I was a flapper during that time period, just because I love the dresses
I'd
and the
like to
hair.
think so too. And like queer history from the 20s, as well as like a lot of
Yeah,
the proto grannies of the New Age movement and theosophies and on spiritual topics. But we don't get to put hard boundaries on like culture and spirituality and zeitgeist anymore. Like
correct. Yeah.
the age of like thinking that this and boutiquing, I am not in that clan of,
Well, I think that part
you
of the
know,
reason I want to have these conversations with people, especially intelligent queer people, is that um the it's kind of ruptured, right? Like the idea of everything being as separate as it once was has ruptured. And I think part of that was the internet shrinking the size of the world. It
yeah,
made this thing that seemed so big and like everything was so far away. Like I'm sure that you'll remember in the 80s and 90s, like the early 90s especially, if something happened on the other side of the world, you kind of didn't know about it for like months,
yeah,
sometimes, like a
yeah,
very long time. And
yeah,
now something happens on the other side of the world, and within 20 minutes, everyone has an opinion. And
yes,
just the way that the world has gone from this massive thing to this kind of marble in a jar is wild to me.
yeah. We're living
And
in a lifetime where we've seen proper exponentiation, and it's no wonder then that so many of us can have some very challenging days, weeks, months, and even years. Like
yeah,
just owning, or there's a better word than just confessing, yeah, this lifetime, how whatever your wisdoms and beliefs are about us coming into this time space frame of earth, buckle up, buttercup. Buckle, we are not the novice, the maybe the novice souls who have forgotten what a roller coaster Gaia can be. Baby, baby.
I think also, I think sometimes if we're gonna play with the idea of reincarnation and stuff like that, right? I
Sure.
think that
Soul trips.
yeah, that when you come into a time period like this, even if you are a younger soul, it's like saying like I want to fast forward some of my karma. I want to
Sure,
get
we're
through a
gonna
bunch of it
roll
up
it
front.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for many people, it's also like, I want to be done, so I'm coming in now when it's like all going crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and I think especially with some of the teachers that have been helpful to me and some of the processes that I've been of late, there I have a teacher who goes like, you go from Chronos and Saturn time in alchemy and in ascension or awakening. You go from the slow believing in the Gregorian imperial calendar to the more we start releasing that and realizing matter is subject to energy, matter. And you get to teachers who are like, we're just trying to get you into the eternal present, where
Yeah,
all of these illusions, they're illusions. Our ancestors built them, and whatever the category is, have we all have things we're holding on to, right?
absolutely.
Identity politics goes the whole spectrum, and ways that we fixate on getting needs that we didn't have met before that we think are so important. And as we mature and transform and awaken or whatever, these priorities keep on reconstellating, reshaping. And so that is for me at present a really big thing. It's like, how much weight am I putting in? Why am I chipping in or commenting or even in this sphere where, like, I don't want this thing to have weight. I want other things. I want the building of the new earth and the building of a unity consciousness to have precedent. And not everyone's gonna take sail on that ship with us.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
everyone's ready or willing or even has concepts of how they have and can receive access to some pretty profound
Intense stuff.
things. Yeah,
I have a question for you because you brought up like kind of the Great Divide, which is talked about very loosely now and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
What is your version of what do you think that looks like?
I think that humans have a version of like, uh, we are mammals, so we like to be in groups. And then we've had long mythologies of individuation and the mystics and the hermits and the witches and all of that having to having to be useful in groups but not take on unnecessary group think.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I also think that spiritual cell mitosis is real. I think the cellular division, if you want to get into that, is just like how we're living our lives. I want to give like a compassionate shout out to some one of my new friends in the Bay who is really going through a lot, and I'm trying to be there with like a unitive support. It's like, remember, baby, Buddha and the Christ consciousness is like, this is an illusion. We're in a workshop here. This is a magnificent, supreme adventure to be avataring the particles of the infinite with such specificity, but where the specificity is the illusion. It is creation, but it is not where we come from. And that's quantum. Get right down to the quantum bits. We're all in the
Yeah.
sea of particles and wavelengths, babe. Get your science down, get it really quickly as best you can. Because in all these stories, you starve the monsters by not even giving them a response, right? The garden withers when you don't water it. If
And
that garden is full of toxicity, yeah,
that doesn't mean that we don't pay attention and we don't know what's happening socially either, because that's just
right,
bypassing. But it's
yes.
like not letting those narratives define or like affect us so profoundly that it limits our ability to function. Because like,
Being in the present moment with the scenario that we're in is how we become vessels of the quantum love that is the truth.
yeah.
Be in the moment. Don't be looking for trouble when when our ancestry and our communities need help. right? Well, are looking for resolution, karmic resolution, balance. Um, yeah, yeah. The possibility of using the evils in distraction and allowing ourselves to be ticked off in another direction. No, I'm working on community relations. I'm serving as a healer right now until until divine intuition helps me move along. And the problem is we're just going to have to deal with people who are angry and stuck and attached and over identified with illusion. And
Yeah.
that's hard. That's
I
hard.
think that, well, when I talk about the Great Divide and stuff like that, or like,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I mean. Like, how do you think, because there are an ever increasing amount of people in this existence right now who are choosing to participate with what we're talking about, this more like spiritual aspect of existence, this more
Yes.
like love and unity consciousness identity. But then the people that are not choosing to go there, the people that are like within the prison of the matrix and all
Yeah.
of that, they're so firmly entrenched in it. So how do you see existing on this planet for those two groups of people, especially when there's like this talk around frequency and frequency adjusting how you receive and interact with the world? What do you think
Yeah.
that means overall for, I don't want to be so heavy as to say the future of for humanity, but like definitely what do you think that looks like in the future where two groups of people inhabit the same planet? And does that
The
in
same,
fact,
you mean like indigenous people and imperial lords and emperors and empresses? It's not a new thing.
no, I know, but it's
You you
certainly,
you know, but I think we have
it's at a
to. I
boiling
think
point.
because of the access again to like technology, and we can get really scrambled really easily, and I'm putting that out there again because I choose sometimes to continually like kind of knock my head against a wall, believing that social media is my way of getting updates on the people I care about in other places that aren't local, when more and more I'm still realizing it's like the divine, the quantum, whatever you like to call it, that is the inevitable working infinite beyond the play and amusement park of matter. We are all transforming. The nature of matter is to transform, you know? Play the cosmic mystic game of, well, what's it like to be a star in a galaxy? We only know from our star, but it's just we have to play with the levels of consciousness. And I understand that, like, the oppressors are psychopathic, sociopathic. They have had empathy bred out of them. If you look at least a lot of the aristocratic history of Europe, let alone other cultures, you
Yeah.
know, I am personally in this moment done with playing whipping dog on cultures, because many of us are coming out as mystical. Many of us are connecting with either ancestral lineages or other wisdoms that, you know, the folks listening probably have some understand of the quantum existence of awareness and consciousness. So, like, however you configure that with your spiritual math, with the way you make spiritual equations and come to the balance of that, um, I'm gonna get real Scorpio.
We love it.
You can't, but you
29
can't.
degrees.
We cannot be afraid of death.
Well, I think that's part of
Learn
it.
it. Oh, you got it. You all the wisdom teachings, the mystery teachings, the Tibetan and Egyptian books of the dead. It's like when your pillar is in the quantum, when you learn that we are a laboratory, as one of my teachers would say, then like you cannot be afraid of what these people are going to do. If we're Whether we're minding our own business, building the new earth, we are having the conversations with others online and offline, like we are right in this moment.
Hmm.
Um, I think we've got to learn to be the quantum lighthouse. We've got to learn how to be the quantum lighthouse. And the wisdom of millennia is still available to us. And it's a lot of it is like we've got to do a cleanup, energy level by energy level, chakra by chakra, level of consciousness by level of consciousness. This macrocosm is is what's happening with ourselves, and this microcosm is macrocosming the earth and even bigger things. And if it's too hard to handle the bigger things, then just go to the earth plane. Just go to like make our choices one power choice by one empowered choice. And when you gotta rest, we gotta rest. But the distraction, I think, is most of the evil.
I think something you said was interesting, and I just want to go back to it for a minute when you were talking about
Yeah.
being Scorpio and saying that like it's about death in many ways. I think that part of the reason we're in the situation we're in, quite honestly, with like this, I mean, I don't know how big I want to make it, but like we have this obsession with youth because everyone does not want to acknowledge that the one thing that unifies all of us is the fact that we will die. So
Birth and death. A birth, a life, and a death.
that's the only guarantees. Yeah.
Sacred three.
Yeah.
Sacred three.
Well, everything comes back to three, too, if you really want to like play that game, because everything numerically comes back to
Right?
the
Get it?
triad.
You want to get out of dualism? Start sliding between those dual things. Slide between, right? You want to get to unity? Unity is always there.
I think that we need to first, as a people, not just like the mystics of us all or the witches and all of the wise ones. I'm talking about
Yeah.
everybody needs to get comfortable with the fact that they're going to die. Because I think that that is the thing that has stopped and held up so much of our development because then we end up with this obsession with youth, which then it, and not that youth isn't a great thing, but you can't go
It's a season,
backwards.
babe.
It's a
It's a
seat that,
season.
yeah, exactly. It's the
It's a
spring. Welcome
season
to
of
the
life.
spring. Um, Imagine everything was spring all the time. Like that wouldn't be great.
Well, I think Earth has experienced that when she wasn't tilted at 23 degrees. I think the magic of it is that, like, let's just focus on our blessed planet who's going through this with us right now, right?
That's the other thing. I think
4.5 billion years. Dinosaurs have come and gone. Comet struck. She's still here. She is a living being, and we think we are so important in the universe that like when a volcano happens and she's restructuring herself, or a tsunami happens as a result of an earthquake of her restructuring herself, it's a personal offense to our micro narrative. What hubris, what arrogance,
it's
what
true. It's very true though.
arrogance. And this is what our micro narratives, the youthism, ageism, consumerism, materialism, trying to hang on to this. Like, babe, if you think I'm cute, great. If you wanna get into this, great. But like even recently, what you think of my beauty or what I look like is none of my business.
I
It's
say that
also none of
constantly.
my business.
Your
And
opinion
that
of me
just
is none of my business.
dredges all of that. And this is a recent thing. So like everyone who's going through this, it's like people love us for more than whether we're pretty or cute or cheeky and all of that. That's a misuse of our parental love. Flush it down the spiritual toilet. Drink some water and flush it down the toilet, honey.
I think
You know?
also that you were saying, like we were talking about how the Earth is alive a minute ago. And I think that people still don't understand that fully either. I think people think the Earth is alive in that trees are alive and grass is alive and water has like proof of like sentience and knowing. But I don't think people really look at the Earth as an organism like ourselves, where like it is
Yeah.
the Earth. You know what I mean? I don't think
Yes.
that
Right.
they do that, which is also something that's
because
very interesting to
because
me.
we're obsessed with ourselves and anthropomorphizing. If it doesn't have fingers and toes, what are earth's fingers and toes? What are the sun's fingers and toes? We are an animal. We're an animal with divine awakening happening for a percentage of us, right? And so, like, give Earth the credit that we are having an experience and a relationship with her. We are made of the things. We consume things that she is nurturing in this garden, in this diversity sphere, which is her. And let's get that very clear. It's a diversity sphere. She loves having all of us here. She's just sick of being squeezed and, and
Yeah.
sucked and vampirized. We don't want that happening to us. And we have to get to that place where we are intimately connected to the majesty and the power of Earth. And of course, the indigenous people who have been living alongside the vampires of the empire have known this and are trying to be like, can we live in balance, please?
Yeah, yeah, for
Because
real.
the more you don't listen to mom, the louder the signals are going to get that we're living on mom's body.
Yeah.
We're all the kittens to Mother Cat Earth.
And I think it's also the question of like, if you're an organism living on another organism, right? Do you want to be a parasite or do you want to have a sympathetic relationship where you're feeding each other?
Yep.
And
Nature teaches us the great cosmic yin of nature and the cosmos. She teaches us cycles. She teaches us transformation. She teaches us that we will get through hard times. When the floods pull trees out and they're left wherever they are, when the tornadoes come and rip apart things, this is part of life. And we think Earth is a vacation. If you think Earth is a vacation, you are very privileged and very disconnected with these things that we are talking about at present.
yeah, I think that was a really a really great way to put it. That like if you do think Earth is a vacation, you may be experiencing a very uh a large amount of privilege.
Yeah, and a large amount of delusion about the illusions of the materials and the belief systems and the money and the home and the white lotusness of you thinking that you're safe because you're in a bunker of stuff. Again, another thing that where the teaching is very real. The stuff ain't gonna save you. It's like Moonstruck, where she talks
Snap out
to,
of it.
yeah, oh yeah. Well, Rose is talking to her husband. You're still gonna die. I love you. Right? Like, why do men
Yeah.
chase women? Because they're afraid of death.
So what do you think then the bridge in a situation like this is? How do we bridge the gap? How do we bridge these narratives that are not necessarily, I don't want to say that they're not helpful, but they're like the more finitely both versions of reality entrench into their own form of existence,
Yeah,
the larger the divide itself. But how do we make it so that people can kind of cross both ways into this conversation of um, spirituality and spirit where we get to hear each other and maybe even like address each other's fears and talk through releasing them and come into a
yeah,
space of coherence, that type of thing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm just going to immediately shout out that in the past 6 months, the last bits of teaching that have really just like just snap me out of it. Um, has shared my Nicolas Cage is Carolyn Miss.
Love
Um,
Carolyn. She's
right?
so good.
Because the unique way in which she is very real about her background and the way that those things, right, going circling back to our backgrounds. But like when you come to any sense of you want to take the multiplicitous stage, you're taking the yin route, right? Witchcraft, earth-centeredness, indigeneity. Earth is ascension 4.5 billion time space year old being. So if you want to take the earth route, take the earth route, take the yin route. If you want to go to unity consciousness and Christ consciousness and the allness, and absolutely saying the allness is the only true thing, like in A Course in Miracles or in the channelings of Christ consciousness or other beings that say all is one. And we've known that since Atlantis, and so does Earth, and the universe is all in the eternity. Take the yang, take the Take the yang route. Go stare at the sun safely and realize, oh fuck, it's billions of stars in a universe full of mystery. I will not be capable of the mystery, but the mystery runs through me and will do amazing things if I get out of the way. The
Yeah.
yang route. And then let's go triangulate. I do the yang route in the morning. I do the yang route and the yin route in the morning. I use tarot as my yin route. And then I'm like, I'm the observer. I'm going to trinitize this. I know that I can be present with the eternal, and I know I can be intimate with the matter of my life just for today. Just for today. Just
Yeah.
for
Very
today. We
Reiki.
do
Very
not know
Reiki.
what Earth and the sun are going to magically do tomorrow, unless you watch Stephen Burns, an astrophysicist, and get into solar weather like I do. You want to know about earthquakes? California, Mexico, Indonesia? Follow the solar weather. There is some science that Mother Cosmos, she's not holding back secrets. You have to be a seeker
Correct.
in the
Yeah.
feminine path. Have to be a seeker in the feminine path. And then the yang path, you want to believe in big daddy light and really just flush your daddy issues down the drain by like everything is light. Everything is energy. You want to talk about the light, you want to talk about the sound, you want to talk about the different colors of your chakras. Believe that this is really not even controversial, but it's really intense,
Yeah.
that mystical experience that any one of us can just breathe into. It's like, wait, the life force is everywhere. And you go like, oh, the cloud has the life force, the blanket,
Yeah.
the laptop, the underwear hanging to dry. Do not leave anything out. And then you don't leave other people out, right?
For me,
You walk the path from like there is nothing left out of the love or the light of the law. And I'm of course um paraphrasing Carolyn, because
yeah.
she's so right for me right now, that you want to get both the karma, you want to deal with the karma, you want to deal with how to not let someone who is living in their first chakra of insecurities, securities, and the stuff, and the consumerism.
So,
We're recording in December, right? All of that. This is the mystical journey that we're going on, right?
yeah.
That's how we build the bridge. We have to know ourselves and be both as kind and as brutally honest. Starting here, starting here.
Yeah.
You know, unitize it or trinitize it, but the duality is going to play tennis indefinitely.
That is very true. And that's a great way to put it. That like last
That's
little
what I
bit.
mean about bridging.
Yeah.
The bridging is like duality is going to be some of these souls' lifetimes.
So wait, since you're in the vibe of Carolyn right now, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a preferred piece of hers that you're working with?
I'm reading The Interior Castle because, and I'm going to get
Oh, so good.
emotional
I
talking
remember that.
about this because, like, some of us in the European ancestry and lineage really need to get back to like the mystical teachings that connect mystical Christianity, Gnosticism, Druidry, Celticry. They talk to each other, my friends. All of us with Euro Mediterranean ancestry, when you take away the dogma and you take away the wounds of what the empire and microcolonialism is, right? What the Romans did to the Celts, and then what the Celts did to the Teutonic tribes, and then what the Vikings did to the Druids. And how far are we gonna hair split until we flush that, go into a sense of, well, what does forgiveness feel like?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll cry about it. Maybe we need to punch a pillow, but don't do it to anyone else. Go into your inner sanctum where the oneness and the allness is the truth.
So we know now where your belief structure came from, right? And we know where we think everything is going. So what brought you to this? What brought you to your knowing of the universe the way you know it now? Like, how did you get here?
Oh, do you know, honey? This is a very dynamic last 6 months because I left Nashville because I was living in Nashville for a year and I didn't get much done and I struggled with not getting much done. So I was going through a lot of my shadows and I had wonderful supportive but hands-off housemates when I was living in Nashville. And before this, the 2020s has screwed with all of us. What we think is secure is not secure. What we think is stable is not stable. And Carolyn's talked about we are confronted by the quantumness of nuclear disaster on Earth and that death thing. Whenever you find that you're released from the fear of death, it means I can go into prayer, non-religious, non-dogmatic. I'm like, okay, soul, okay, light, okay, matter. I'm talking to you. How can I just get through this day? And in June, it snapped. I left my job. I started traveling. I was doing freelance work like I'd wanted to do. And I had just been going down the intuitive astrology rabbit hole, which I now feel I do very mystically and intuitively for people. And I was just like, I want to, I want to be the chariot in the tarot. I want the sun of my tarot to start rising up. I want to balance my elements. I don't have a lot of fire in my chart. I need to be the fire. I have to invite the fire where I'm imbalanced in my elemental bodies. And so first came the astrology downloads. Then in September, I started A Course in Miracles. And now and then Carolyn popped in November after Drag Show 5000 was done, and I'm like, I want to go back to why I remember her 10, 15 years ago when my radical fairy friends were throwing out their favorite healing and like mystical texts. And it goes back to like, I believe I come from a mystical lineage, and many of
Sacred
us
contracts, by
do.
the way, excellent place to start for anyone that's like hearing us talk about Carolyn Mays.
Yeah.
Um, Sacred contracts, great place to start. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. And so for me, it's like, wait, European mysticism, where like Hildegard, it had to come through the Catholic hippies, right? It had to come through St. Francis of Assisi and the mystics and the saints, because what other stories were we going to get told in medieval period about people who experienced like the lightning strikes? I'm like, oh, the electricity of the universe. And I'm translating it through Catholicism, but it's not even that. It's
Yeah.
not even holy thing. And especially like directed towards my queer siblings, like all of us, it's like, don't let the religion um disempower your mystical lineage. If you feel it, if you feel the tingles, weird neurospicy family traits, the love of nature, the deep hunger for like our artistry as performers and musicians, that's all mystical as far as I'm concerned, right?
And I know that like for me, like I grew up mostly Catholic. I grew up in a Roman Catholic environment, all that stuff.
Yeah,
And I I felt drawn to spirit and spirituality, and I didn't necessarily have the full words for it at the time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I also grew up where I had an uncle that was a priest, and my cousins were altar boys and all of that stuff. So
yeah,
one of my cousins I remember said to me, um, "Oh, if that was really God's blood, would you drink it?" And like this to a 7-year-old who's not really thinking about vampirism, you know what I mean? Or like any version of that. And I was like, well, if it's God, yeah, I guess so. Like, what does that even mean? And I think just the inherent trust in spirit made me realize that like maybe that wasn't the mask that I preferred to know it through, but I
yeah,
knew that I needed to know it. And
yeah,
so that was what pushed me into like understanding more mystical texts and
Yeah.
different spiritual earth-based, like for me it was always earth-based spirituality that really spoke to me because I didn't understand the idea of this one, for lack of a better expression, but something that everyone understands, like this unified sky daddy that is omnipotent and also completely hands off. When I came across like the Hellenistic structures and the Greeks and the Romans and all that, and how there was like the god of this and the goddess of that and the god of this and the goddess of that. Like it made sense to me. And maybe that
The
was just my,
imminence, the imminence of these great, 33 times great ancestors for which we like, oh, I'm like Aphrodite. I'm good at loving people. I'm good
yes.
at, we come into these communities, right? The pre-Christian communities of like my pagan a craft name is Apollo, but it's because it's like, oh, this is the profile. You go on like the archetypal, you go on archetypal Tinder. I'm like, Apollo, light, love, music, poetry, has a bunch of girlfriends that we do the liberal arts and sciences
Yeah.
with. We are mathematical, musical, mystical family.
Yeah,
You found your
absolutely.
family in the archetypes of our galactic ancestors, but now they have not, they are in us. Stop looking for things on the outside. It's like Caroline is so like adamant and very very like pagan grandma. Stop it.
I
Stop
think
waiting for
though,
people to save you. Stop
I
it.
think in many
Stop
ways
waiting for the
though,
gods to come back.
we have to go so far out that we go in
Oh yeah.
because
Do the toric field.
yeah.
Stretch it out, bring it on in. Stretch it out, bring it on in. Do your electromagnetic cleansing, babe. Do that
For me
toric
at
thing.
least, I know I had to think something was outside of me before I could realize it was all in me.
Yeah,
That was my route.
yeah. Yeah, we're playing the game of magical, mystical mirrors, that great mother, divine feminine. And talking about the divine feminine always chokes me up too, because it's like like Catholics, even if it's screwy, you have Mary. They could not get rid of the divine feminine because it's like they're too, the peasants are so attached to the earth, they are attached to the cycles. They trust in the cycles. The materiality worked. But now we're all fucked up
But they had
about that.
in order to maintain the divine feminine, they had to rupture it and they had to create the purity feminine and the impurity feminine and they had to
Yeah.
kind of create this schism culturally. And
Yeah.
ultimately they're like neither are
Well, it was
different.
it's very dark to make the divine feminine the queen of dualism, because then she takes all the shit. She's allowed to be gaslit by Sky Dad because Earth Mom doesn't provide what we need when we want it immediately,
And
like little bratty
is it
children
any
that we
wonder that
can be.
patriarchy is as prevalent as it is
Oh,
with this?
smooth operator. That the age of Pisces, the divine feminine has been so gaslit, and this is why we can't be fussing around with the divine feminine alchemy. We got to call the dark, be strong enough to deal with the dark, and integrate it, because she is the one who holds the records, at least on earth. We get this body, we get the ancestry, we get Italian stuff coming at us, or Irish stuff, or Greek, or Chinese, or Indian, or Patagonian, indigenous, Amazonian. We get the information in the bone and the marrow and the blood. So like to we have to let divine mom and dad not take our bratty little basic ass form. We have to let them be divine. Let the divine be that much bigger than us, because it knows more than us. And when we clear ourselves out, we access it, because we are inevitably, indubitably part of them. We are the
Also,
third.
can we say to not project your parental issues onto the divine? Because ultimately, like your parents, this was their first go round too, and maybe. start having compassion for them. That way you can have more compassion for yourself and then the planet.
Yes, yes. This is the we will exponentially make the moves in this lifetime that we are here to do when we stop licking our wounds. And that's a Carolyn thing, and it's certainly been helping me, like, not moan and groan or hide where I'm losing my power because I'm stuck on feeling lonely. I'm stuck on feeling like my working classness still pushes me away from more financial resources. We have to be so real with ourselves, or else we are not going to be able to be real with anyone else. We have to call our demons out
Yeah.
first. Call ourselves. Oh, I'm angry because I'm not getting what I want. I am raging because this system is betraying me. For how long have our systems been betraying us? For how long?
I think that yes, and as a person who is queer, and this whole show is queer people talking. Because we need a voice. But I think that we're as queer people, we are taught to observe, shrink, and adapt long before we're taught to listen to ourselves, and
Yeah,
long before we are taught to integrate. It's all about it. We are so quickly thrust into a survival mechanism and a survival mechanic that
yeah,
for many queer people, we don't understand the coherent path until much
yeah,
later.
yeah,
And the idea of integration is so foreign because we're told through Abrahamic structures and patriarchal lenses that this existence is supposed to look one way and you are inherently not a part of it. When really the truth of the matter is queerness, two-spiritedness, all of that
yeah.
dates way back before any of this was even a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can go to nature, you can go to the penguins, and you can go to certain primates, and you can go to certain kinds of birds and dolphins,
Dolphins,
and,
whales.
like, let's get real. We are evolving with the planet. And what we also have is free will, which is the choice to fuck around and find out. And then there's the universal unfolding, which, do we really think, we the what is one and in the all, and what is all is in the one. But that's why I will say that, like, unity studies, trying anywhere, whether it's Buddhic or Christos, Krishna consciousness, it has helped me, because when I start to fuss up in the storms and the messiness of matter and illusion and all of that, it's like, I'm here to bring, I'm here to be a vessel of healing. Jeremy is not a celebrity healer. I have realized that I can be a magical, vital flower on the earth, a tree. I can connect with the earth and the earth and her journey, and the cosmos and its journey. And, again, like Carolyn says, it's so intimate, which is what we long for. And then we get screwy around intimacy. Deals of healing is going to happen around the ways
So
we're intimate with each other. And then
you
impersonal, like, I am a function of the universe. Forget Jeremy. I'm a human on Earth, a function of cosmic forces.
you said something that I want to go back to for a second. I
Yeah,
mean, you said many things that I want to revisit, but this one specifically, because it always intrigues me. You mentioned free will is the path of like fuck around and find out.
yeah.
But do you think free will is actually a thing?
It is a program. It is a program. I mean, again, it's a fuck around and find out. It's like Rose Nyland on Golden Girls, who says, how many times did it take to hit your head against the wall before you, like, make a change? Nine. nine nine lifetimes,
The number of finality.
different galactic epics outside of different versions of time and space in different dimensions. Speaking to the ufologists, the people who know they have galactic ancestors and relatives, not special. Those, we're all family. That's what the indigenous say. We all have relatives. We are all in the web of the cosmos. We are the neurons of the earth. And I love this. The paradox is we are not special and still powerful.
Yeah.
Our ego is going to cling on to, but that's my favorite pair of underwear. That's my favorite this. Oh gosh, my shoes are ruined. Oh my gosh, I didn't get Botox or this person won't fuck me. We have to be that honest. Where are the queer people who are just like putting our badass, mystical, magical, empowered panties on? Because I think the time will always be now. And babe, we are here to help. Because if we if we
1000%.
if we get 10,000 infinite daddy mommy energy loves you infinitely percent. Because when it starts to pop, when it starts to unfold, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
not about
You can't
Jeremy
look
is
away from it
branded.
then.
Jeremy is branded as a mystical healer. Babe, if we're gonna do it, if we're in community, if this speaks to you, we are going to talk and magic is gonna happen. We will hold hands and look into each other's cosmic eyes and get down. Because it's a party too. What people think is it has to be such drudgery. No, coming into unity consciousness is a fucking party. And doing alchemy is what we hold each other's hands and kiss each other's mouths and squeeze each other hard and celebrate the solstice in 2 days.
Yeah, which I'm very excited for. Do you have anything planned for the solstice?
See, this is where my brain has to go. Show tonight on the 19th. A show in Philadelphia. I'm going to wear my solstice dress.
I'm very excited for you. On the 21st, I will be north of you about 3 hours, but
Yeah.
I will be doing I'll be having a ceremony for the timeline shift. I wrote this one ceremony that I've been performing on like very specific orchestrated dates because when I was in a deep meditation, this whole thing like unfolded for me, this whole geometric thing, and I was also given a list of dates, and I was like, okay, so that's
Right?
happening.
It's bigger than us. Isn't it amazing that it's bigger than us? That's the ultimate, like, oh, just let the fire of the sun. If that's why that's why so many indigenous teaching talk about Father, Son, and Earth Mother, because they're just representations. Blow the sun out infinitely, great, infinite daddy, no, a light and love. And then you go into matter, you go into mom, and she is law, she is science, she is gravity, and the pendulum swinging 6 beats this way and six balance. The Hermetic laws belong to Divine Mother. Let them come
Yeah, yeah,
together,
yeah.
and we are the sexy co-creation. We are the
Lava lamp of
tantric.
reality.
Yes, yes, and that's when people get Kundalini awakening, and it's like I'm literally very recently going through like releasing fear of some kind of mystical lightning striking me because you feel like you've tapped into something very ancient and very future and it is imminent and it loves you so infinitely. It is it is un it is it is just mystical, beautiful shenanigans. And when we talk about it and when we say it is here, it's here. So that's being a baddie. Be a mystical baddie. It's like one of the last things that I could just put out there. If you're mystically oriented, be a mystical baddie. Like make mistakes. The sooner we make mistakes, the sooner we recalibrate our compass.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's no,
And I
and
mean, you don't have to fuck up and find out in a way that is not in your lifetime template. We have, I think, some we have soul blueprints and itinerary of like gonna work on these relationships, gonna work on bringing more light in, gonna work on, you want to channel your great galactic Pleiadian Arcturian sweetheart. Great, be a channel, but don't make a hierarchy of it. We're coming in this holographic awakening of all of our multidimensional joys, talents, ancestral gifts. We are upgrading our builds.
we love it. I don't want to cut you short, but I have we're
Yeah.
coming to like the close of this. So what do you want to sign off on? What do you want to tell the people? How do you want them to get in touch with you for your mysticalness if you want? Give us give
Yeah.
us the full download.
Yes. So please hit me up on socials. The handsome Jeremy 777. I would love to talk with folks. I also have a Patreon where some of my downloads come, and I like to do very Apollonian, Orphic, mystical, like songs that are also downloads. That is also like higher consciousness coming through. Is Handsome Jeremy on Patreon? I would love to work with people. I'm an archetypal astrologer. It all comes very intuitively, and I love doing workshops on musical mysticism, the mystical side of music history, and really just working as a collaborator. I would say spiritual companion facilitator, because I think I'd like to be a post coach in terminology, and just work with our communities at the level you can, so we can make this more of a celebration and an alchemical wonderment and miracle than the drudgery that is hard to look away from. But we are so much more brilliant than the drudgery would have us be limited to.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for giving people a way to reach you.
Yeah.
We're gonna like wave goodbye now, but then I'm gonna say goodbye to you off camera.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Bye.
Juno. Bye, everyone.